And welcome back, everyone. Welcome to our second broadcast of the morning. Earlier we were live with the Tenacious Turtle Tussle, but now we are here with ESL Open Cup number 171 Asia. I'm of course your host, Live VIP. Later on I will most likely be joined by another Duckling. Which one? You have to stay tuned to find out, because even I don't know. Even I do not know. But what I do know is that we have a series before us, and spawning in the top right hand corner of Royal Blood, we have the Malaysian Protoss player. We casted him earlier today in our very own tournament. Representing his new team, Infected, it is Ranger. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent, the South Korean Zerg player representing Abydos, the up-and-comer. It is Mondo. And for those that are just tuning in, I see a couple of people. We missed the turtle cast, mate. The Tenacious Turtle Tussle was actually so sick. The storylines that were had in that tournament, the semifinals, the quarterfinals, leading into the semis, leading into the grand finals was actually insane. We even had a winner's interview at the end. It was so sick. We got so much support as well. Decent viewership, you know, over 100 viewers in the finals, which was a lot of fun to be had. We even had some donations as well. So thank you so much to everyone that did tune in and did support. And I highly recommend watching the VODs on Twitch. They are already available, so whenever you have the time for it, I do recommend at least tuning into the finals. But watch the whole thing. Watch the whole thing, Bobby. Watch the whole thing as we're getting ready for our second broadcast here, merely 45 minutes later on the dot. And we'll see how this all will come to pass. Ranger was playing earlier in the morning as well. Did have a pretty good run of his own, making it to the semifinals, and he has been practicing quite a bit here. Ranger, he did take some time off. He did take a couple of months off at the start of the year. He lost his motivation, he lost his passion, but that fire has been reignited. He is once again full of it, full of the passion, I mean, and he has joined a new team. Shout out to Infected for signing him, for supporting Ranger here in his endeavors to make it in StarCraft, to have a deeper run in ESL Masters as well for the Asia region. I do wish the best to him. Likewise, Mondo. We've also been casting a lot of Mondo recently. A lot of him, and he has been looking better and better every time we do cast him. But again, he's still an up-and-coming Zerg player in the Korean scene, still looking to make his name. I do think that this series between these two is going to be pretty competitive, all things considered, and I want to see how Ranger can perform in the PvZ. Already two Lings do waddle into the main base. They get a full scout confirming the Stargate opener. They'll stick around and they'll also get confirmation of the first unit being made, and there we go. We do have an Oracle from the side of Ranger. Everything is looking quite normal. Everything is looking quite standard. When it comes to Mondo, if you haven't been tuning into some of our casts of him, we've been casting again a lot of him these past couple of weeks. Mondo is very akin to these Ling Roach timings off of 66 workers, sometimes even less than that. He isn't really one for the late game, he's one for the mid game, for getting early advantages, for shutting down, denying third bases, and pulling apart the Protoss player. So very aggressive as a Zerg player. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but when it does work, boy does it look good. Vámonos, papi, vámonos. As, of course, we are slowly getting into the standard opener from Ranger. It was a gate expand into that Oracle first. We have our two Adepts chilling here at the third base to safely get it up and running. So nothing too crazy from our Protoss. When it comes to the side of Mondo, ooh, the first Oracle gets across the map, but the Queens were in position at the third base. Third base is perfectly fine. We have a Spore. Sorry, Natural is perfectly fine. Third has the Spore, and we do have two Queens in the main as well. So Mondo has been able to split up his Queens very efficiently to make sure he minimizes his losses, but the Oracle is still alive, and there is a second Oracle on the way as well. So Ranger still has the opportunity to deal some damage. Ooh, he takes a couple more hits on the way out there. Is going to be hitting, or he's going to be dealing some of that whole damage. Meanwhile, Mondo does throw down his Roach Horn at a pretty reasonable time. 4-minute 40 mark here. Roach Warren, not really too early at all. Is just going to be a safety Roach Warren to tech up into the mid game. We have been able to drone up pretty freely. We should be seeing a 4th base momentarily. We have our lair on the way as well. Speaking of 4th bases, there we go. The drone is on the way. It is en route. And yeah, we have a pretty stable, pretty settled opener here to this game. We're getting past the mid game. Now we're nearing closer to the mid game. We're getting past the early game, we're getting closer to the mid game. As we have +1 attack on the way alongside Blink as well. The Triple Oracle just going to be dancing here with these units in the middle of the map. They could turn around and focus down the Queen, to be honest, but they opt not to go for it. They want to support their Blink Stalkers instead. And this is the important part about this composition that Ranger is going for, is that these 3 Oracles, they're not just to deal economic damage, they're also to clean up Lings that try to surround Blink Stalkers. So it's very important that we keep them alive, otherwise we're going to have to rebuild them, remake them, and it will slow down the Protoss. Oh. Until then though, again, Ranger just going for a very macro, very defensive opener overall. Blink on the way, Gateways on the way as well, everything is quite normal. Mondo is looking for a way in, just kind of testing the defenses here of Ranger, if anything just isn't on hold position, for example. But Ranger, again, quite solid response, is able to fully wall off and defend. Mondo on the other side of things, as we have a pretty passive game, he's free to drone. He can drone to his heart's content, and he's droning quite a lot actually. More than I'm used to be honest. We're droning up to 75 already. Working up towards that 80 count. We're going to be getting into the mid game with a pretty healthy economy so we can get into the Lingbane Roach Ravager. Before that happens, Ranger is pushing out onto creep, forcing a transfuse, cleaning up some of these tumors here, even looking to dive on top of some of those queens. Just asserting himself here, not committing too hard. As we get a revelation on those links, making sure we don't get us around. And finally, we've hit our drone mark. 84 drones. That's all we need. That's all we need for the entire game. We can drone up a little bit more afterwards because we have to make buildings and throw down site defense. But now Mondo is free to just make nothing but roaches and lings. He has been left alone, and Mondo has done a great job at just taking advantage of that. Oh. And now Ranger's in a bit of trouble because Mondo's going to max out soon. In mere moments, Mondo, his supply is going to skyrocket. We do see Ranger being quite active here across the map on this creep, but he has to be very careful. To be fair, a lot of the army is still in production for Mondo. He does focus down that, that stasis trap. Very nicely done. Behind this, we see him going for a bit of a Ling run by instead. He's got some options, but he goes for the natural. The wall is not a wall. Ranger, his defenses, his door is wide open, and the Lings will get into the natural and the main base at the same time. He's focusing on his main push here. He's going to catch some of these roaches for free, which is nice, but he's still losing a lot of workers across the map. Chaos ensuing here for Ranger. He can't really push up this ramp into the Lings, into the roaches. The Oracles are going to try and support wherever they can. Lings are being cleaned up. Ranger is forced back. Mondo is forced back. But the Lings are still not dealt with. They're still alive. We even have a Baneling being morphed into the natural base. Very ambitious. It will be dealt with though. Ranger does defend, but his economy has been slowed down. He at least has a 4th base. But yeah, I'm sure he wanted to be in a bit of a better position moving on forward from here. I'm sure he would like to be more aggressive as well. That's the thing about this style from Protoss. You have to be in the face of the Zerg player. You have to be in their face. You have to be trading as best you can, as much as you can. If you let the Zerg player breathe, then they can get out of control. As we can see, Mondo is up to 180 army supply, nearing on 190, nearing on 200. Meanwhile, the Ling Bait is going to be forcing back all these Blink Stalkers. They actually come across the Banelings that we're going to go for a run by. So, nice moves from Ranger overall. He's going to be able to deny this, but Mondo is not stopping. He's pushing on forward. He wants to take a fight. He wants to try and break the 3rd. Banelings roll on in. They don't make it into the mineral line. The Roaches are actually kind of running into a wall of Stalkers here. Do we have enough to break this 3rd? I'm not too sure. Zealot Rambai gets cleaned up by the Queens back at home, by the most of the Queens back at home, and Mondo is forced back. Again, just running out of steam, not having enough Lings to keep on pushing. Solid defense by Ranger so far. His 4th base has been left untouched. And Mondo is going to have to go for wave number 2. And again, because of his drone counts, I mean, he can. You know, he's going to be taking another race behind this. We do have that 6th on the way. Oh my god, that's a lot of banelings. That is a lot of banelings from the side of Mondo. Tutu is about to kick in as well, so we can just send it all across the map. So far, Ranger has had a great job defending, but at a certain point, we need disruptors, we need Colossus, we need something more to support these stalkers. We need that now, and we just don't have that tech switch. We don't have that transition. Here we go. Ling Bane headed towards the 3rd base. The Stalkers are already in position. Banelings don't find too much damage at the same time, though the 4th is completely exposed. Ay. The 4th left isolated, left alone. Every single probe is going to be going down. At the same time, we do have a Zealot run by, though. This 4th base of Mondo is under threat. It is going to be falling here. Another Zealot run by towards the 3rd base. Oh, but a very quick reaction from Mondo. He actually barely loses any workers. I'm shocked. I'm surprised. I can't believe that he didn't really lose any drones here. He does pull Mondo back, but Ranger is limping along right now. He lost a lot of his army. He lost his 4th base. He lost a lot of probes. Mondo can remax and push in again, and Ranger just is looking worse for wear. Having a hard time holding on, and here we go. Mondo pushing in once again for the 3rd time, looking to just surround this army. So many more Lings this time. Not that many Banelings, but we don't need no Banelings. Files are going to be somewhat connecting here. Banelings rolling on forward as well. And this is going to be the last stand for Ranger. The shield battery has been depowered, and this 3rd base is going to be broken. GG gets called, and Mondo takes the 1st game. Oh, GG. Rangers lead the way. True, Bobby, true. Oh my god. Ranger had a solid opener overall. Unfortunately, again, I was talking about it earlier. When a Protoss player plays like that, we want to be aggressive, we want to be in the face of the Zerg. And Mondo was left free to drone up to 80. To drone up to 84, if you remember. Pretty uncontested, and that's a scary thing, to just leave a Zerg player alone and let them drone. Of course, his opponent Ranger was trying to do some economic damage with oracles and going for some Zealot run-bys, but it wasn't enough to really impact that game. Oh, I just realized. Oh, there we go. I just realized that my camera wasn't on. It's all good, it's all good. I have returned. But yeah, Ranger wasn't really able to slow down Mondo, and once he got going, mate, he got going. I'll let them know what is going on. Looks like a couple of other casters are going to be joining us. Oh. As we get into game number 2, and yeah, pretty solid game overall for Mondo. Ranger, I think, needs to be maybe a little bit more active. He was trying to be. It was a tough ask here for Ranger. Maybe he can have some more success in game number 2. So here we go. You can hear the beeps loading on in. Game 2 is going to be on Neo-Humanity, and Neo-Humanity has a couple of quirks to it. It is the smallest map in the map pool, sure, so in a sense it can lead to aggression, but it can also be very defensible. There are so many choke points, so many defensive positions on this map. Ranger could be looking to just turtle up and go for a longer game. Here we go. Spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Neo-Humanity, we have the Malaysian Protoss representing his new team, Infected. It is Ranger. And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Neo-Humanity, we have his opponents. We have the South Korean Zerg representing Team Arbidos, currently leading the series 1-0. It is Mondo. Oh, and speaking of leading a series, someone else who is leading the support in the StarCraft scene. Massive shout out to Dave Testa in the chat. Thank you so much for the 500 bits. That's a lot of bits. Thank you, Papi, thank you. We appreciate the support, Dave. We really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for what you do for the scene and also what you do for the Ducklings. Thank you, Papi, thank you. Less than 3. Oh, hold on. Uh, where's the button? There it is. Ha! Less than 3, Bobby. Less than 3. Hearts all around. Oh god. So thank you so much as we're getting into game number 2 here. And again, game 1 was pretty straightforward. Not gonna lie, it was Mondo droning, defending, 80 workers, and then just sending wave after wave of Lingbane Roach Ravager at Ranger until eventually Ranger had to tap out, had to concede to the swarm of Mondo. Here on this map, I have to wonder which route we're going to take. Is Ranger going to try and interrupt Mondo before he can get his full saturation going and try to end things early? Or are we going to make use of the features of this map? The choke into the natural, into the third, into the fourth, into the fifth. Choke points all over the place. With this, it is very easy to wall off, to just turtle up, to hunker down, get up to 4 bases, max out, even take up into Sky Toss if need be. It'd be very difficult to break these locations depending on the state of the game. So Ranger, he's got some options here. And speaking of options, I was not expecting this. We have a Robo Opener, not a Stargate, not a Twilight Council. So with this, we can go into a 3-gate aggression if we throw down 2 more gateways, or we could go for a disruptor drop. We can go for a bay right after this and go straight into disruptor production. There are a couple of options available here with this opener. Can Ranger keep this hidden? Because this is quirky. This is a little bit unorthodox, and no, he cannot. The Lings are gonna slip into the natural, into the main, and Mondo will get eyes on that Robo. Oof. So a great scout here from Mondo. Meanwhile, he took his natural, and his third base is going to be the forward third. So Mondo wants to be the aggressor. With this base, he will have access to the faster Rich Vespene Gas Geyser, and he will have a much faster launch point for his creep spread to go across the map. Meanwhile, when it comes to the opener, again, you know, the writing was kind of on the wall. It is going to be that robotic spray. This should be for a disruptor drop. It could be for Colossus drops. Colossus drops are a thing as well, a little bit more niche and a little bit more specialized, so that is a possibility, but I'm banking on the disruptors. Meanwhile, Mondo, he didn't see the bay, but he saw the Robo Opener, so he can piece it all together, and this is the logical conclusion of this build from Ranger. So Mondo can piece it together. Before that happens, he's just kind of poking in with his Lings, just trying to get vision here. His Overlord is poised to dive into the main base for a rescout. There is Prism Speed. There's the Disruptor. Now, the danger here for Ranger is that he is delaying a lot. He's delaying his gateways, he's delaying his third base, he's delaying his upgrades like Blink upgrades, Charge upgrades, Twilight Council basically, for this Disruptor drop. If this drop doesn't do enough damage, then Ranger is going to be in a really rough position. These disruptors need to get value here over time. They need to get some connections in the mineral line, or picking off some queens, or connecting with roaches. Also, as Ranger moves out with this drop, he's going to have very little to defend at home. He's investing so much into this double disruptor drop. So if Mondo does go for a counterattack in the middle of Ranger harassing, I don't know if Ranger can hold on to his third. It's going to be difficult here, especially on Neo Humanity, especially because Mondo is cutting drones. 43 workers. That's all we have. Mondo's going all in. Ling Roach Ravager is coming out from Mondo. Ranger is going to be in a lot of trouble right now as Mondo is going to be zooming across the map. Likewise, Ranger, he has eyes on this. He's going to be going for the connection of the Ravagers. Up! Ooh, and he does get one Ravager for his troubles. He wants a second, and he will get it. Just barely. Good start here for Ranger. He has to slow this down. Because Mondo, he's going for his push. He's droning behind this. It looks like he has recognized that maybe he can't end the game. These are good things for Ranger. We have a Colossus on the way behind this. Third base still looking very exposed. No shield battery, surprisingly. Meanwhile, we go Disruptor drop into the natural. Oh, we do get a whiff, though. We don't really get a connection. Up. Neither disruptor gets a connection, and here we go. This is what I was worried about. The third base is completely exposed. The Lings, the Roaches, the Ravagers, they all show up and they deny the third. Ranger was not set up to defend. He didn't have a shield battery. He didn't have an overcharge. He didn't have his army in position. And Mondo is free to drone from here. Just contain his opponent to 2 bases. That's all he needs to do. Up! Does he have a couple more Novas going off? Over time, Ranger is getting value here, but this isn't making up for the lost third base. That is the biggest problem. Earlier, I was talking about how Ranger needs to get connections with his disruptors to, like, be even, basically. And now, he's just struggling to maintain himself. Let alone, you know, after losing this third. We do have Lings here to deny the third once again. Ranger, as he tries to expand. He's pushing onto creep. He has his Colossus. He still has those disruptors. He can still take a fight. And this third base is quite exposed for Mondo. Mondo, though, he has a large army. He's waiting for Ranger to push into creep. He's waiting for him to overextend and go in a little bit too far, and then Mondo will collapse on Ranger. A couple of bars are going to be slowing him down. Mondo with a very low drone count, by the way. And here we go, Ranger. He's going to be committing. We do have energy for force fields. Novas are going to be going off. They will connect with the Lings. Force fields are going to be cutting off this army, but the disruptors did all go down. Oh, and Mondo is diving on top of the Colossus. We do have some pretty sick juggling here. The War Prism Micro is insane. The Colossus are saved. But what about the Gateway Army? Oh no! The Biles! Only one Bile. The Zealots do warp in. The Prism eventually goes down, but a little bit too late. Ranger does hold on here. He does hold on to his Colossi at least, and Disruptors are being produced behind this. Mondo is still on a very low drone count. This is still very close. Because of the low drone count from Mondo, like, it's like both players are all in. No third from the Protoss, no fourth from the Zerg. Just hyper aggression from both players. They both want to just kill the other right now. Up. He's pushing on in. We have a disruptor. Nova's going to be going off, and it will get a queen. Not a bad connection, but we needed something a little bit juicier. Here we go. The Roach Ravager pushing on forward. The Prism goes down. The Colossus get targeted down as well. With the death of that Prism, that is going to be it. GG gets called, and Mondo will take game number 2 and the series. The Biles from the Ravager were just a little bit too much. The Prism just sieging up in a very compromised position, and GG. GG, well played. Congratulations to Mondo as he does take the series 2-0. And he moves on to the next round. My condolences to Ranger. He doesn't meet his match here. He honestly, that game 2 was pretty close. It was very scrappy. It was a very scrappy game. Unfortunately, Ranger was maybe a little bit too ambitious with the positioning of his Prism. Without it, he had a really hard time protecting his high-tech units and saving them from those roaches. Regardless, GG, well played. Mondo does move on to the next round where he's going to be facing another Protoss player.